For rounds 10, 11 and 12 of the BRDC British F3 Championship, we've moved to Cheshire and the beautiful leafy Oulton Park. But don't be fooled by the idyllic surroundings. This place is not for the faint-hearted. The track rises and falls, twists and turns to really push the drivers to the limit. But then you'd expect no less in the BRDC British F3 Championship. At Rockingham last time out, we saw some drivers racing at the limit and others going beyond them. Race 1 had Lando Norris on pole. However, it was teammate Ricky Collard who made the better start and took the lead, as the rest fought it out behind. Lando then followed his prey, waiting to strike, and in the closing stages, he attacked. They both ran side by side, neither willing to give an inch, until Collard put a wheel on the dirt, allowing Lando Norris just enough room to get through and on to take the victory.
About half the track round, we were side by side, really close racing.
Race 2 got off to a very dramatic start. As the pack fought it out on the opening lap, there was contact, and Enzo Bortoletto's car took off, rolling several times. The race was stopped, and thankfully Bortoletto walked away unscathed. On the restart, Tarun Reddy was slow away. Enam Ahmed made a lunge for the lead but got squeezed out and lost his front wing. He ended up in the pits for repairs. Meanwhile, Ahmed's teammate Tom Randall saw an opportunity at the hairpin and dived past Amaya Vaidyanathan and into the lead. Behind, Lando Norris piled the pressure on Matthias Leist and grabbed third place. Up front, Amaya Vaidyanathan closed back in, but Randall had everything under control and headed for his first victory.
It's great to be able to get my first win and get the monkey off my back.
For race 3, it was Lando Norris back on pole, but he made a terrible getaway. And like in race 1, Ricky Collard dived through to take the lead. Lando then lost second as Matthias Leist went wheel to wheel and pushed past. Amazingly, Enzo Bortoletto was in the race, the Double R team having done an amazing job of rebuilding the car after his scary race 2 crash. However, at the front, Ricky Collard wasn't going to let this one slip through his fingers, and he went on to get his first win and become our 7th different winner of the year.
Pretty cool title now to have on your name that you're a British F3 race winner, and also we've taken the championship lead.
After Rockingham, heading to Oulton Park, Lando Norris doing a part season is 5th behind Tom Randall, double winner Matthias Leist 3rd behind Toby Sowry, and Ricky Collard, the man in charge. One driver who moved up a gear at Rockingham was Amaya Vaidyanathan. A 2nd place in race 2 was his best performance yet.
I think compared to the start of the season, where we had a little bit of a slow start, I think now it's really starting to fall into place, and yeah, hoping to build on that result. It's always nice to start at the front and stay there. It's still quite early in the season, but it's promising to see such results.
However, the biggest talking point of the weekend was the spectacular crash of Enzo Bortoletto.
The car is very safe. I was very fine after the crash, it was okay. But yeah, I was looking like to the outside videos, and then as it looks like I have like a touch in the rear, but also have nobody's fault because it was 3 cars, yeah, and then there's no space for 3 cars. But yeah, as it looks very spectacular, but for the driver it's not that cool, yeah.
And new to the grid for Oulton Park, Ali Al Khalifa graduates from Italian F4 with hill speed.
The championship looks like it's a really good championship. The car was really fast, really nice to drive, it has a lot of grip, and so far it's been really good. So I'm joining in half the season, and we'll see how this first race goes, and then we'll see what's the plan.
Round 10 of the championship, race 1 of 3 here at Oulton Park. Ricky Collard is the man on pole position. Colton Herta with him at the front. The grid is formed, 14 laps of racing. In prospect pole, Collard second on the grid, Colton Herta, Tom Randall third as the lights go out, and Ricky Collard makes a very good start from pole. Colton Herta bogs down a little bit, and Tom Randall moves through to take second as they work their way through Old Hall Corner for the first time. Oulton is not the widest of circuits, it's a real challenge for the drivers, and on the opening lap, Thomas Randall racing here for the first time. He's all over the back of Collard. They sweep downhill through Cascades on the opening lap, and now the run along Lakeside Straight. It's Collard in the lead as we go on board with Sisu and Gebelana here. The HHC Motorsport car turns left up towards Shell, side by side there, look, absolutely together, diving up the inside. Toby Sowery putting a move on Inam Ahmed, and that was very brave stuff indeed, both of them giving the other just about enough width. Up towards Britons for the first time. Also coming under attack there, Krishnaraj Mahadik, number 6, and he has got right on his tail Eugene Denison. The South African looking for a way by as Colton Herta is seeing the top 2 ahead, just starting to creep away, but he breaks late coming into his lops and brings down the gap. Inam Ahmed also coming under attack, Sisu and Gebelana riding shotgun, the two of them nose to tail as they thread their way through Knickerbrook and then climb up Clay Hill. But the race leader, Ricky Collard, who finally got that breakthrough win, his first of the year at Rockingham last time out, he aims here to make it back-to-back victories, turning his way through Druids now, down to Lodge Corner. Number 5 through, Jeremy Wahome in the Chris Dittman racing car. As into Lodge they turn, brake late, turn right, road drops downhill and then it climbs up through Deer Leap. Over the timing line, Collard leads Randall, Colton Herta is third. He's not really falling off the back of that little group too much. Through Old Hall Corner goes the pack behind, including 23 Thomas Maxwell, but there is Ricky Collard. He works his way out of Cascades onto Lakeside Straight once more, and you can see just how hard everybody is pushing. The cars absolutely glued to the road as they work their way round Cascades. Sisu and Gebelana just checks the mirrors, readjusts so he can see what's going on behind, and then has to dive left on the run up towards Shell Oil's corner. Brake hard, locks up though, scrabbles into the corner, and Gebelana, who got a pole position here last year on the reverse grid race, he leads the pack now as they turn their way up towards Britons once more. But the race leader, Ricky Collard, looking good up front. His father's going to be here next week in the British Touring Car Championship, Rob Collard. He's been a winner in that already this year, so both of the family having victories, and Ricky's younger brother Jordan also meaning business this year in Ginetta Juniors, so the Collard dynasty continues. Ricky's grandfather, Nick Duffy Collard, legend of hot rod racing going back to the 1970s and early 80s, and this a replay of the start from onboard Sisu and Gebelana. He blasts away, moves himself round the inside of Eugene Denison then on the left, tries to get up alongside Ben Hingley to the right, he gets past him as well, then he swoops to the outside of Quinlan Lyle, and his next target just to the right there in 23, Tom Maxwell. Race leader Ricky Collard goes through, second spot just dropping away a little bit now, Tom Randall, Colton Herta is third, and there Enzo Bortoletto on a real charge as well, bouncing back in the R racing car from his big accident at Rockingham. Turns his way down the avenue through Denton's into Cascades now. Bortoletto running strongly. Now, is he going to be able to get close enough to make a move against the opposition up the road? Let's see. As through turns Collard then in the lead of the race. Ricky now starting to build up the advantage, and there's been a huge off coming down the hill towards Cascades. Bits of car all the way up the hill. What's left of one of these F3 chassis sits in the middle of the road at Cascades, and that is going to be an interruption, possibly even a stoppage, because that's been an enormous accident. It's Amaya Vaidyanathan's car that has had the accident, and look, it has just ripped itself apart. Race stops straight away. So Ricky Collard leads at the time of the stoppage. Tom Randall second. Now this is on board with Sisu and Gebelana. Let's see if we can piece together what happened. And Gebelana gets sideways coming out of Old Hall, sets off down the hill. There's Vaidyanathan, they touch, the car digs in, and over and over and over it goes. On board now with Amaya Vaidyanathan, so there's a small slide from Sisu and Gebelana. Gap on the inside, Vaidyanathan takes it, goes through, they make contact as he comes back across the road, it flicks him over, and over, and over, and over, and eventually the car crash lands back to earth. And the Vaidyanathan's car is absolutely destroyed. On board with Tom Maxwell, there you can see the contact up the road. Vaidyanathan's car, huge amounts of air underneath as it flies high into the air, eventually comes back onto the ground, but with bits of cars strewn all the way up the road. And there's what's left of it. The race is stopped. It will not be restarted. Amaya Vaidyanathan, we understand, is perfectly okay, and that just illustrates the strength of these Tatius chassis. So, a shortened race. Matthias Leist fourth behind Colton Herter. It's Thomas Randall who is classified second, and Ricky Collard takes his second successive win.
A massive anticlimax. I wish my teammate all the best. Obviously, it's Amaya. Amaya, I hope you get well soon. That sounds like quite a hefty shunt, so yeah, obviously it's great to take the win, but I want to dedicate it to him, and I hope he gets well soon.
There was a bit of oil coming out of the back of his gearbox. I thought it was raining, but it was, my visor was covered with oil, so I don't know whether they'll investigate that or not. But congrats to him. You know, he drove a faultless race and thoroughly deserved. And yeah, happy with P2.
Congratulations to Ricky Collard. Earlier we met up with Enam Ahmed, who raced last year with Lando Norris. At just 18 years old, he's one of the youngest of our drivers, and his fitness has always been a bit of a struggle for him.
Lando and I were both very successful in karting. He had already started practicing cars with Ginetta Juniors a year before, so he had a bit more experience. But I think he realised that at the time fitness is very important for cars. I jumped into cars and I didn't prepare well enough. It was my own fault, and I then realised that I'm not fit enough, and that's why I was struggling a little bit. And then once I got fitter, all of a sudden I started winning races, getting on podiums in F4, so it does make quite a big difference. Now every time I go to a test, I'm able to last like the whole day, and I maximise it. When last year, I'd be very tired towards the end of a test, but I'm still improving to get that better. And not just it makes the race or the practice easier physically, but also mentally it makes me last a lot longer in a race. So now I've realised how much more I'm able to focus in a race without being distracted as easily. Definitely the consistency has been better, but strangely enough, the place where I noticed it the most is when you put new tyre runs, like in qualifying stuff, because actually new tyres when they have the most grip, and to be able to kind of put all your energy and focus into 2 or 3 laps is actually the hardest thing. But now I've been training a lot harder. I can put new tyres on the whole day and be fine and be able to maximise them and get better during the day. I aspire to be a Formula 1 driver, which I think is why most of the people are in this championship, as it's very competitive. And I think being one of the youngest on the grid is quite good now that Max Verstappen won at 18 years old, and it's made younger people look very good. And it showed that sense in that I was ready, and I got 3 podiums and a win, which was very good. But last 2 races haven't been too good, been a bit unlucky with certain situations, but ifs and buts don't count, and now I'm looking forward to the next race at Oulton Park.
And that next race is coming up here, right after the break. Here at Oulton Park, we're ready for race 2 of the weekend in the BRDC British F3 Championship. It's round 11, and amazingly, it will feature Amaya Vaidyanathan, who had a monster accident in race 1 on Saturday afternoon. And here on Bank Holiday Monday, the car repaired. The team worked incredibly hard to get it finished by the end of Saturday, would you believe? And he's good to go from the back of the grid, with pole position going the way of Enam Ahmed, and Toby Sowry is the man who will line up with him at the front of the grid as we get set for 14 laps. Down the pit lane comes Alec Huvenen. So I'm afraid there is a drama for the Finn. The RR Racing car comes down the pit road. Huvenen, who was runner-up at the start of the year at Snetterton, has a drama. He's going to have to start from the pit lane if he can start at all. The green flag at the back says everybody else is ready. Looking from the back of Toby Sowry's car. He's the man on the outside of the front of the grid. The drivers now look towards the lighting gantry, which should go red. They do now. Lights will go out. Race is underway. Who makes the best start as they blast off down towards Old Hall Corner? Jan Jong makes a good getaway. Borsaletto defends, and there was just contact there, I think, as Matthias Leist tried to get up the inside of him. Jong round the outside, but the best start made by Enam Ahmed is bouncing all over the grass there. Ben Hinchley gets it back on. Ahmed to the inside. Sowry on the outside. And it's going to be Enam Ahmed who leads the way through Cascades for the first time now. The pack accelerates along Lakeside Straight, absolutely nose to tail. Inam Ahmed it is who leads the way. He has had a win at Snetterton. Toby Sowry has had a win at Brands Hatch, and he's desperate to try and find a way past him here. Enzo Bortoletto runs third as they work their way out of Charloil's corner, and now the run up towards Britain's. Matches Leist in 26 on the back of the traffic here. Jan Jonk just up the road ahead of him, going really strongly for SWR, Sean Walkinshaw Racing. And Jan Jonk racing here for the first time, moving out of the German F4 Championship in which he drove last year. All over the back of Bortoletto now as they drop down once more in towards Hislops. They turn their way up Clay Hill once again. Jonk in the wheel tracks. Now, is he near enough to think about making a move at Druids? Oulton Park's a narrow circuit. It's not that easy to find a way through. You're kind of reliant on forcing a mistake out of the man ahead of you. Bortoletto is the man ahead as there through goes 11. Ricky Collard, a double winner now this year. He won race 1 on Saturday, and as they drop down towards Lodge Corner, Collard thinks about making a move up the inside there, but Tom Randall defends in the Douglas Motorsport car. Collard for Carlin up over the timing line now. One wide over the grass there. 37 is Sisu and Gebelana, who was involved in the race-stopping accident on Saturdays. The leaders now head downhill once more. Inam Ahmed then, the race leader. He's developed hugely since he came into the MSA Formula last year. He's got Toby Sowry right up behind him as they run along Lakeside Straight. Now there's contact between the two of them. Sowry goes off the road, bounces back on. That gives Ahmed an even bigger advantage, and Sowry, amazingly, has hung on in there in second place. He's got the rest of the traffic all queued up behind him. Look back, there's Enzo Bortoletto behind. But Sowry, despite being squeezed onto the grass, despite contact and despite getting airborne, is still going. He's still second. How much, if any, damage has all that done to the car, though? The Lannon racing car comes over the brow of the hill, still in second place. And Inam Ahmed it is who leads the way as now Matthias Leist dives to the outside and takes 4th place away. He's ahead of Jan Jonk as they break for Hislops. Out of Knickerbrook, they climb now up the hill. And Jan Jonk, the Dane, hard at work in this, his best showing of the season thus far to get perhaps a podium finish. Sowry turning his way through Druids now. Ricky Collard is also inching his way onto the tail of the pack in front, but Inam Ahmed leads the way as Leist has a rather tentative look at Bortoletto. Can't do anything about him. And nose to tail, they all run down towards Lodge Corner, including Tom Maxwell and Eugene Denison, the two SWR teammates there, going through Deer Leap. Matthias Leist, hard at work, down towards Old Hall Corner here. Into the right-hander, the double winner from this year. 1 win at Snet, 1 win at Brands. And he's on the tail of Enzo Bortoletto as they head into Cascades. Turn in, the road plunges downhill. There's a compression at the bottom, straightens out along Lakeside Straight. Now this is an opportunity perhaps for Leist to think about having a go. He does move to the inside, but Oulton is so narrow he couldn't really get up alongside fully and commit in time. Now they brake hard and they turn right through Charloil's corner. Leist right on the back of Bortoletto. Is this spurring on the Brazilian a little bit, perhaps, to get onto the tail of Toby Sowry? And Sowry in turn is trying to get himself back onto the tail of Inam Ahmed. Come over the brow, over hilltop, down now towards the right-left sequence at Hislops, and then right again through Knickerbrook Corner. And Jan Jonk still delivering the goods in 5th spot. And if anything goes wrong for anybody up the road ahead of him, he is ideally placed to capitalise. But you can see just how difficult it is to make progress around here. The likes of Ricky Collard, who we know are quick, just not getting his way up the order. Replay here of what happened to Sowry and Ahmed. Inam Ahmed makes a mistake, slides through Cascades. Sowry goes one side, then the other. There wasn't really a gap, but he committed to it. Inam Ahmed moved across. There's contact between the two, but Toby Sowry here, you can see from another angle, makes the move, but he was never fully alongside. There wasn't a full car's width. You might be able to argue that Inam Ahmed was a little bit brutal in the way that he chopped across the front of Sowry, but he was determined to hang on to that race lead. Over the timing line comes the race leader. Inam Ahmed it is then for Douglas Motorsport up front, looking for a second win of the year. And Matthias Leist not really having stayed close enough here to the tail of Enzo Bortoletto to make the move. Downhill they come. Leist slides into Cascades, catches it, but that's going to cost him just a fraction of time on the run along Lakeside Straight. hard on the brakes. Into Shell goes Lice now. Another of the Double R racing cars. So you've got this inter-team battle going on at the moment for third place. There's another inter-team battle. SWR's pair. Tom Maxwell and Eugene Dennison running together. And another little fight going on behind for Fortec. You've got our Faisal Al-Zubar in number 7 and number 3 there, the blue and white car, Ben Hingley, tucked up behind. The race leaders work their way again down through his lots, but all the while now, Inam Ahmed looks as though he's managed to consolidate that advantage. Toby Sowry tries he might, hasn't yet been able to find a way back onto terms with him, and really he was only there in the first place because Inam Ahmed made that mistake coming out of Cascades. That said, if you can make one mistake, you might make another. So Sowry needs to keep pushing, needs to try and apply the pressure. Sisu and Gebelana there at the back of the pack, working his way up towards Druids. He's chasing after his teammate Ben Hingley as they turn their way out of Druids. Down now towards the right-hander of Lodge Corner. The black crash helmet there, Eugene Dennison, the South African, looks for a way through, but he can't dislodge teammate Tom Maxwell. Australia versus South Africa here. Over the timing line they come, and they're being chased hard by Krishnaraj Mahadik. Now the red car run by Chris Dittman Racing, and the pack behind, there it is, starting to creep up onto the back of those ahead. Down through Cascades they turn. Amaya Vaidyanathan, incidentally, not making great progress in this race, with all due deference to him. He's way down towards the back, but it's good to have him back on the grid and building in confidence once more. The leaders turn their way out of Island Bend up towards Shell. The full version of Oulton Park's international circuit in use. Number 3 turns through, that being Ben Hingley, reigning Formula Jedi champion. But the race leader, Inam Ahmed, it is, continuing to hold sway. And now, look, Toby Sowry falling back a little bit into the clutches, and a lock-up as well coming into his lops. That's going to help Enzo Bortoletto get even closer to him. And Bortoletto is taking Matthias Lice with him for good company. Through the right-hander of Knickerbrook they turn now. There you can see number 6, that being Krishnaraj Mahadik, the Indian driver, on the tail of the South African Eugene Dennison as Toby Sowry comes out of Druids. This is the run down towards Lodge Corner. He's got the pack stacked up behind him, but Bortoletto not really able to think about making a move up on the inside. This is a replay of Matthias Lice having a go at Jan Jonk. To the outside over hill top. Is he going to be able to go all the way around the outside? Yes, that is very brave stuff indeed, because given how narrow Oulton Park is, you don't often get an opportunity to do that, so he absolutely commits to it. Brakes as late as he dares and gets through that sequence of corners ahead. So Lice over the timing line now, pushing on. All the while, he's bearing down on his teammate because Enzo Bortoletto is just up the road ahead of him. Bortoletto in turn has got his sights set on Toby Sowry as they make the run along Lakeside Straight, heading towards Island Bend. There's Bortoletto, Lice on his tail. The Double R racing cars keeping SWR's Jan Jonk at bay. But don't rule out Jonk either, as the cars now turn their way through Shell, because Jan has caught back up to this gaggle of cars, racing at Oulton Park for the first time, Jan Jonk, and he's doing a very impressive job. He wasn't one of the standouts last year in the ADAC F4 Championship in Germany. Developing his skills this year as he learns about a new car and a whole host of new circuits, but this really the best we've seen out of Jonk this year. Collard in the background, still stuck behind Tom Randall and not making the progress that's required here. So frustrating, because there aren't really in these sorts of cars the opportunities you need to be able to get a slipstream, plus the road being so narrow goes against you as well. So Collard trying to force mistakes out of drivers, and in fairness to that leading group of cars, mistakes few and far between. Out of Druids once again. This is the run down towards Lodge Corner. Jan Jonk on the tail of Matthias Lice, who is still shadowing Enzo Bortoletto. But up front, Inam Ahmed now pulling away as a little bit wide runs Jonk, coming over the curbs on the outside of Lodge. Past the pits now, down towards Old Hall Corner. They'll work their way through the right-hander, as up front, Inam Ahmed it is for Douglas Motorsport, who leads the way. And lap by lap by lap, the gap is building over Toby Sowry. Inam Ahmed won the 3rd race at Snetterton in the opening race weekend of the season. Is this going to be another race win for him? Well, at the moment, it's all looking good, and we'll find out whether it is going to be a second win when we come back to Oulton after the break. Welcome back to Oulton Park, race 2 of the weekend in the BRDC British F3 Championship. It's being led by Enam Ahmed after a bit of contact early on when Toby Sowry tried to make a move, and a big lock-up from Enzo Bortoletto there going in towards Shell Oil's corner. He's got his teammate Matthias Leist tucked up behind him, and then Jan Jonk there in the blue car behind in 5th spot. But Bortoletto, despite the puff of tar smoke, gets away with that. This is Jan Jonk's view as he works his way up through the Britain chicane, over hilltop now. They work their way down towards Hislops, and Matthias Leist, a double winner this season, chasing as hard as he possibly can. He's right on the back there of Enzo Bortoletto as they turn their way up through the right-hander of Knickerbrook. The road climbs up Clay Hill now. To Druids. Is there a chance to go through on the inside? There isn't really. The problem here being slicks and wings to a degree. The closer Leist gets in order to make a pass, the more he runs in the dirty airflow created by Bortoletto's car. And he can't stay there. He drops back because the aero is affected and he goes slower. It's a big frustration for him. What he has to do is try and come from a long way back or force a mistake out of Bortoletto ahead of him. For the moment, Bortoletto is soaking up the pressure as they go through Old Hall Corner. Run down the avenue and into Cascades. Toby Sowry in the red and white car just up the road, hanging on to his second place. We get a replay here of the start from on board Matthias Leist. Red lights go out, everyone blasts away, and Leist tries to work out which way to go. He gets squeezed a little up towards the pit wall by his teammate Bortoletto, and to the left, look, Jan Jonk right round the outside. That gives him yet another spot. Leist regroups, able to fight back and retake that place. But there might not be much love lost in the R Racing camp after that. Leist grimly determined then now to find a way through. Round the back right at Shell they turn and the run up towards Britons. Toby Sowry is the man under attack, look, because there runs a little bit deep into Britain, scrabbles out the other side. But the gap has come right down between him and Bortoletto, who challenges on the outside line. He can't quite do it, but Sowry now, he's under real attack and he's got the ball stacked up behind him. Bortoletto is stuck because he can't find a way through. That brings Leist right onto his tail. It also brings Jonk back into the equation as well. Uphill they go now, heading towards Druids. Jonk attacks Leist once more to retake the place. Past the water tower on the right they go, into the double apex right at Druids now. Jan Jonk pushing hard as he makes the run down towards Lodge Corner. Is this going to be an opportunity to make a move? He's not really close enough, I'm afraid. And what about Sowry at the head of this battle pack? Can he pull away and shake off Bortoletto? The answer looks like it might be yes. He's just about got away with that drama. And so now, half a lap later, he's starting to secure himself in second place once again. Jonk turns his way out of Old Hall. The run down the avenue, then heading towards Cascades. And this is the part of the circuit where Enam Ahmed made his mistake a few laps ago, and that really gave Sowry his one and only chance to challenge, but none of the leading group make an error this time around. So the status quo remains. Look at Bortoletto and Leist, though, the two teammates absolutely together. Matthias Leist mounting another attack here, closing up onto the tail of Bortoletto as they work their way through Shell Oil's corner again. Sowry only just up the road, and you kind of think if Bortoletto weren't being distracted by Leist behind him, he might be able to have a proper go at Sowry for second place. Over hilltop they come, down towards the right, left at Hislops, and then the right at Knickerbrook itself, the old corner. Part of Oulton Park folklore is Knickerbrook, and now the field works its way uphill, up Clay Hill. It's a 14-lap race, or 20 minutes, depending on which comes first. It looks as though, without any safety car dramas, we're going to go to the number of laps. It's been a relatively trouble-free race, this. We haven't had too many people in strife, but what we have had up front is a very impressive drive by Enam Ahmed. He was able to repel that challenge from Toby Sowry. Sowry possibly has had a bit of damage. Bear in mind as well that having been on the grass, it may well be that some of the grass picked up in the radiators is causing the car to overheat a little bit and therefore lose power. There was a little bit of a brush between the two of them, and so as they work their way then now around Old Hall Corner, onto the avenue once again, still looking very strong up front. Enam Ahmed managing to fend off the gaggle of cars behind him. Sowry, though, is trying to do his level best to keep at bay the Leist and Bortoletto challenge. They're running up the lakeside straight part of the circuit now, the way down towards Island Bend. Through the left-hander they will go. They turn their way through the left up towards Shell Oil's corner once again. For the final time, Enzo Bortoletto turns his way out of the right-hander. I don't think he's going to stay on the back of Sowry in order to challenge, but what he has got is Matthias Leist tucked up behind him. They turn their way now out of the Britain chicane. For the last time they head over Hilltop, and up front Inam Ahmed has managed to build a really impressive gap. And look, Sowry is still having to think about defending. He just does not have the pace, does he, to shake off Enzo Bortoletto. They head up the hill, and Bortoletto getting frustrated because he can't really find a proper gap in which to challenge. Matthias Leist likewise staring at the back of Bortoletto's car as they work their way around the right-hander at Druids. Inam Ahmed, though, is on target for a second win of the year. And just look at the gap he's been able to build up. He heads up through Deer Leap, checkered flag at the ready. It's going to be a race win for Inam Ahmed, who comes across the line victorious. And who is going to be second? It's Toby Sowry, just ahead of Bortoletto, just ahead of Leist. Behind them in 5th place, Jan Jonk, and 6th goes the way of Colton Herter. Tom Randall 7th, and a really frustrated 8th, having not made much progress at all. Ricky Collard ahead of Quinlan Lyle, and then it's Tom Maxwell to round out the top 10. So a second win of the year for Inam Ahmed, and a win by quite some margin in the end, over 5 seconds, the cushion at the end. Toby Sowry, I suspect, just relieved to finish second after the dramas that he had mid-race. So let's have a look at how they came across the line, with Ricky Collard way down in 8th spot, Colton Herter 6th. A good effort by Jan Jonk behind Matthias Leist and Enzo Bortoletto. Sowry chasing Inam Ahmed all the way to the flag. And a very happy Inam Ahmed stands atop the car, a second win of the season.
I made a small mistake into turn 2, I think it was, and then he got a run on me, but then he somehow managed to get onto the grass. I don't really know how that happened. And then once I got a little gap from him, I just edged away, and then that was the race sorted after there, really.
I think there was a win possible, but me and Inam had a bit of contact, which hampered me a little, but, you know, it wasn't anything serious, so second place is good. It's good to get some points again, but, you know, it was really tough holding Enzo behind me.
It was a very nice race, good start again, and we managed to hold that P3. And it was quite tough because I was putting pressure in Toby and at the same time taking pressure from Matheus. So yeah, that's Oulton. It's quite hard to overtake, and that's it for now. We managed to do a good lap for race 3, so yeah, let's fight again in race 3.
As the drivers made their way to the podium, the race officials were having a look at the evidence of a little contact between Ahmed and Toby Sowry. And although Ahmed stood on the top step of the podium, post-race, it was decided that a penalty should be given to Inam Ahmed for this move, a 6-second time penalty for driving in a manner incompatible with general safety. And that gave the win to Sowry. We caught up with Ricky Collard, son of British Touring Car Championship racer Rob Collard. When not in the seat of a Formula 3 car, he can be found working at his dad's demolition yard.
There is no such thing as an average day down at the yard. I've got a good understanding of quite a lot of different mechanical machinery. So one day it might be on the digger, one day it might be on the dump truck, one day I might even just be driving a shovel. I wasn't very good at school with my reading or writing, but I could drive a digger and make my dad some money. So that's where I think I've learned to be sort of quite grateful for the opportunities that have been given, because obviously motorsport costs a massive amount of money, and I think a lot of people take it for granted, but it's quite funny when you tell people at the yard that I'm an F3 race winner on weekends and a dumper truck digger in the week. Everyone asks me this, but damn, I hate working for my dad. Please help me. I'd love to be out in an F3 car every single day of the week, but unfortunately, budget-related issues, we can't do that. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity that I get given. But driving dump trucks, I don't want to do that all my life, so it makes me more determined when I get in my F3 car that I make these demon starts and I get these race wins. My dad's made fantastic starts in his career, and likewise with myself, and I'm sure my little brother's going to do the same. At the end of the day, if it's got 4 wheels, I'll rag it and get the best out of it. But no, it's little things here, like when you're on the farm and you're stuck in mud and you don't want to get out because you don't want to get covered in mud and stuff, you learn very quickly how to get good clutch control, because otherwise you'll be up to your neck in mud all the time. I think I get a lot more nervous, I think, driving the diggers, because I know my dad's there and he's going to shout at me if I do one thing wrong. So, no, it's I think nerves, everyone gets nerves. I think the day you stop getting nervous is the day that you'd quit as a racing driver. We're in a very good position at the moment, and it's all about sort of staying there and keeping our head down and focusing, which I'm sure the boys back at the factory are doing, and I've got to do the same. I still believe that to be a British F3 race winner and to maybe become champion at the end of the year, there's no reason why I shouldn't believe that Formula 1 is still a target.
Let's find out how Ricky fares in race 3, right after the break. Race 3 of the weekend in the BRDC British F3 Championship is about to get underway. Double winner this year, Ricky Collard is the man on pole position, and his teammate at Carlin, Colton Herter, will line up alongside. Row 2, Tom Randall, he's had a win, so has Herter, and Inam Ahmed, the on-the-road winner of race 2 earlier on in the weekend. We're all set for another thrilling 14 laps here in Cheshire. Race 3 of the weekend is about to get underway. Green flag waved at the back means everybody's where they need to be after the warming up lap. And now the drivers look towards the lights that go red. Lights out, we're racing, and a good start made from pole by Ricky Collard on the run now. Down towards Oulton corner, but through the middle goes Tom Randall. Is he going to go round the outside? He's got ahead of Herter, and now challenges Collard on the run round Old Hall, but it doesn't pay off for him. Ricky Collard leads the way downhill for the first time. On board with Tom Maxwell as they work their way through the left-hander of Cascades. Ben Hinchley, number 3, runs wide round the outside there of Tarun Reddy. On board with Tom Maxwell here on the run down Lakeside Straight. Great little battle going on ahead of him. But can Maxwell buy into this? Is he going to be able to gain any ground as the race leader, Ricky Collard, works his way now up through the right-hander of Shell, being forced out a little bit wide, number 2, Quinlan Lyle. And right up the inside of him comes Alex Huvenham. He was a pit caller earlier on in the day, but as they turn their way now up towards the brow of the hill, over hilltop, and the run down towards Hislops, things now looking very good indeed for Ricky Collard, because if he can get his head down and start to push on and leave the battles behind him, he's going to be able to build that gap. And there, down towards Hislops, through goes Inam Ahmed on the inside of Matthias Leist. Leist ahead of Bortoletto. The rest of the field works its way now up Clay Hill. You're on board again with Tom Maxwell. And up the road, Quinlan Lyle is still busy attacking. Is this going to work out for him on the way towards Druids? I don't think it is. Everywhere he tries, the line is already covered. You will see Swan Gebelana in 37, also busily defending for HAC Motorsport as the leaders head down towards Lodge Corner. Toby Sowry in the red and white car pulled out the inside and had a look. Couldn't do it. And there, losing out is Mahadik as Tom Maxwell gets up the inside of him. Now the white and blue car of Ben Hinchley challenges as well on the run past the pits here. Hinchley to the inside, now makes the move and he makes it stick. Krishnaraj Mahadik fights back on the run down towards Cascades now, but to no avail, seemingly. The race leader, Ricky Collard, though, continues to hold sway up front. Enzo Bortoletto is now coming under attack as well as the field works its way towards us. There you can see the man that's doing the attacking, and it's Toby Sowry. As they work their way out of Shell Oil's corner. A replay of the start here from on board with Colton Herter. Lights go red, lights out. He gets a decent getaway, almost levels with Collard, but away like a robber's dog through the middle is Tom Randall, who swoops past Colton Herter. Very nearly got round the outside of Collard as well. That didn't quite pay out for him, though. That's the battle now for second and third places. You're looking at the third place car of Colton Herter, but ahead of him, Tom Randall, the Australian Rockingham winner, is building the advantage all the time. But so too up front is the leader, Ricky Collard. This is Colton Herter's view as he heads up towards Shell, down through the gears, through the right-hander. Oulton Park, a real driver's circuit. It's a real challenge for the drivers. It's one they really enjoy with its great mix of corners, with all the undulations of the Cheshire Parkland circuit. Former home to non-championship Formula 1 races back in the 50s and 60s. Still plays host to a great variety of club racing and national racing throughout the year. Over the curb, coming into Hislops there, was Colton Herter. The American then accelerates up Clay Hill now, but it looks as though Tom Randall is being able to maintain this advantage. And much as Randall isn't doing much about Collard, he is being able to hang on to that gap for second place. On board now with Randall, coming out of Druids. The dot in the distance is Ricky Collard as they head down towards Lodge Corner once again. And there's Colton Herta in third place in the car that he's sharing this year effectively with Lando Norris. Jan Jonk, 21 in the meantime, the blue and silver car there, closing up onto the back of Toby Sowery as they work their way now down towards Lodge Corner. And not that far off the back of this little group, Quinlan Lal. So the American in the red and black and yellow car for Chris Dittman Racing goes out of Deer Leap there. The pit board goes out for Jonk, who's on the tail of this man. Double winner now this year, Toby Sowery, having inherited the win in race 2 after the penalty was given to Enam Ahmed. Through Denton's, down the avenue they turn. There's Enzo Bortoletto keeping Sowery at a fairly safe distance behind him now. Up front though, Ricky Collard looking unstoppable. Came into car racing here at Oulton Park, initially in Ginetta Juniors. Then went back to karting for a while. Did have a rather large accident in karts a few years back, but was able to recover from that. Came into the MSA Formula last year, into the F3 Championship for this season. And all of this at the same time as his father's winning races in touring cars and his younger brother is in Ginetta Juniors. Amaya Vaidyanathan in 51, recovered fully now from his race 1 accident on Saturday. He's looking to try to gain ground as well. Al-Faisal Al-Zubar there turns through ahead of Eugene Dennison, who's not having as good a run in race 3 as he did in race 2. And they're both being caught by Vaidyanathan now. Turning their way through Britons as Ricky Collard ticks off the laps. This, the longer race of the weekend, at 18 laps rather than 14 or 30 minutes as the maximum time allowed. Over the line they come, and Collard works his way through the right-hander of Old Hall Corner, and it looks as though win number 3 of the year is going to be his. It may have taken quite a long time to get the first victory, but since then, Collard now is turning in the results expected of him. The run along Lakeside Straight now, this to build the championship lead as well with another race victory here. All looking very impressive indeed for him. It's another good result for Carlin as well, as you see the next little battle. SWR's Eugene Dennison there in 44, right on the back of Al-Faisal Al-Zubar as they come out of Deer Leap over the timing line once again. Down towards Old Hall Corner, Eugene Dennison close but not able to really commit to a move up the inside there. Out of Denton's they'll turn and then into Cascades. Eugene Dennison, new to the UK circuits this year. Al-Zubar in his second year in this equivalent championship, but of course a new car for this year and a new name as well. The new chassis now badged as F3, whereas in the past it was the BRDC F4 championship, and Al-Zubar defends. Dennison really brave round the outside at Shell, committing. Is that going to pay off for him? If he stands his ground, he'll have the inside line for the next corner. And yes, he does do it. There might be contact between the two, and off the road goes Al-Zubar. Eugene Dennison goes through Al-Zubar in all sorts of strife though as he tries to get back onto the road. But Ricky Collard is on target for a race win. 2 out of 3 at Oulton Park for him. Second across the line is a hard-charging Tom Randall, and third will go the way of Colton Herta. And Toby Sowery, the only other winner we've had this weekend, is going to be in 7th spot as he comes now up towards Deer Leap. But as far as the race leader, now race winner, Ricky Collard is concerned, he wins by nearly 2 seconds, and more importantly, he increases that championship lead. What a weekend. At Flagfall, 8th across the line, Jan Jonk behind Toby Sowery. The double R twins of Leiston Bortoletto, 5th and 6th, with Enam Ahmed only 4th this time behind Colton Herta and Tom Randall. And a second win for Ricky Collard.
You don't have weekends like this often, and I think at the moment I'm just embracing it. It's been a dominant weekend for myself and for the team, and it doesn't happen often, and I'm lost for words.
It was a good battle at the start of the race, but he just managed to just get that little bit on me, and well, we had the pressure from Colton at the end. He drove a great race, but yeah, congratulations to Ricky Collard. He drove a faultless race again, and I can't thank all the guys at Wayne Douglas Motorsport enough, and all the guys back home in Australia for all their support.
It's never a bad day to get a podium, but yeah, happy with third and coming back into the British F3 Championship with a strong podium. I'm looking forward to the next round that I do.
So how does this now shake up the championship? Ricky Collard is the man in charge. He has got a 37-point advantage over Tom Randall. Matthias Leist only 2 ahead of Toby Sowery, 3rd and 4th. Then it's Enam Ahmed in 5th. And look further down, it's really close for 12. Joint 110 points each. Tarun Reddy and Quinlan Lal, with Colton Herta just behind them. The next stop, a very different sort of circuit, as we head to the home of British motor racing, Silverstone.